Everyone. Hello. Hi. Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you to those watching online. My name is Ann Anderson. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Hammond, and I want to welcome you to the unveiling of the Hohman Avenue redesign plan that the city will implement in the next year in downtown Hammond. These plans are part of a determined vision for revitalizing our downtown, spearheaded by our mayor, Tom McDermott. Mayor Tom challenged us to think outside the box when reimagining what our downtown core could be. That, and along with a new train station coming and upcoming residential, is securing a new renaissance for Hammond's urban core. On that note, I would like to invite up our mayor, Tom McDermott, to say a few words. Mayor?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. A few years back, we hired a rock star in the planning circle, Jeff Speck, to analyze what was going on in downtown Hammond, give us recommendations on what we could do to take a turn and move more towards the 2100s instead of more like, the 1950s. And we had a lot of great recommendations from Mr. Speck, and it would have been a waste of money if we paid this gentleman to do all that work and not follow it up with action, And thankfully, with the American Rescue Plan and a lot of the money that's become available through the American Rescue Plan, it gives us opportunities to recreate downtown Hammond in this case, or even downtown Hessville. What the cool thing about Mr. Speck and what he did for us downtown is he taught us a new way of thinking. And it was hard not to take the vision that we learned in downtown Hammond and apply it to other parts of the city, and that's the next step you're going to see as well. Downtown Hammond was the first. Mr. Speck did well. He taught us well, and now we're ready to take the next step in other parts of the city, which would not have been possible without the American Rescue Plan. And I know I'm not trying to get political. I'm certainly not trying to get political. I just want to point out that an extra $50 million to a city like Hammond that badly needs it, we're going to put people to work with it. We're going to reinvest in this city, and we're going to change the way we do business, starting right here in downtown Hammond. I can tell you with firsthand knowledge that the American Rescue Plan has $5 million set aside for this project right now. And we want to get going, and we want to make this a reality. We've met with the public a number of times. We've taken a lot of input. Of course, we met with Mr. Speck's team, and this is the vision we've come up with. And we're dead serious about moving this project ASAP. And like I said, again, a couple times already, would not be possible without what's going on with the federal government helping the city of Hammond, not just with the American Rescue Plan, but how about the Westlake expansion? And I know that was also somewhat controversial when it was being debated. And then the city of Hammond jumped on, and we had a couple ideas about the Westlake expansion. One of them was, if we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in North Township, we want to at least connect up our line to the Gary Airport or to the Dunes or to South Bend. Why are we making it so that when you get on a train, you make it easy to go to Chicago, but you don't make it easy to go to Gary? It doesn't make sense. We're putting hundreds of millions of dollars into the Gary Airport, and we're not connecting these two projects. And nobody wanted to hear it, but we made an impact and changed the original plan of the Westlake Corridor. It was supposed to be two separate lines, the current line going to Chicago and the new line going to Chicago, never touching in Indiana. And we changed it, and now we have the Gateway Station, which is going to be a brand new area. And that's not far from downtown Hammond, but that's going to be a brand new area. You're going to have that major junction of the two lines, the current east-west line and the north-south line, with a brand new station, multi-level station, and all the economic development that comes with it. And then you get on the line there, and you come down south, the first place you pass through, downtown Hammond. We're not going to have a station immediately upon the Westlake extension, but we're going to have it shortly after. In fact, we already have the location. Nick D's already approved it. We all know that once that train line starts, we can start working on the downtown station. Next stop, 173rd, which is going to be another station. This is a boom for Hammond, and it's going to change downtown Hammond. And we already see interest from developers. Madison Lofts, right across the street, northeast corner of Sibley and Hohman, $15 million investment, 54 units, 5 stories, right across from Eat, the restaurant. Bank Calumet Building, $24 million investment, adaptive reuse, 100 units, 9-story building. Rimbach Square, we're working on this one as we speak, a $24 million investment. We have people, in 2/3 of the cases, people committed and ready to work, and the other one, they're shortly going to be there. I mean, with the hundreds of millions of dollars you're going to see invested through the Westlake expansion, with the $50 million we have through the American Rescue Plan, and the amount of money we're ready to dedicate right now, I tell you, downtown Hammond's going to look a lot different 10 years from now than it does right now. Downtown Hammond's going to look a lot different 5 years from now than it does right now, and we're at the very beginning. So I appreciate you all coming out. I know a number of people in the room help provide feedback to us, and I tell you, I think American Structure Point, we do a lot of business with them. They've helped us turn around our city, and I appreciate them for putting a lot of hard work with a lot of feedback and a lot of changes into our final product. It doesn't mean this is set in stone. We're not bidding out yet, but this is pretty much a lot of feedback, and this is our vision right now. So I hope you keep an open mind and look at it. And for the people that have become accustomed to driving 50 miles an hour on that street and using downtown Hammond as a shortcut between Munster and Robertsdale or in Whiting or Chicago, this is not going to be a good shortcut anymore. If that's your thing, you're not going to like this plan. This is going to change traffic in downtown Hammond. It's going to make it so that if I walk out on Hohman, I'm not going to get killed by a car going 50 miles an hour. Cars are going to be going more like 35 miles an hour, and they're going to be squeezed, and there's going to be parking on the street. If we're serious about reinventing downtown Hammond, we got to slow that traffic down. We got to make it so this is not a cut through. We got to address more parking, and that's what this plan does. So thank you for being here. I hope you keep an open mind, and we will have a question and answer session at the very end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I bring American Structure Point up to show you the renderings that we're working on, Jeff Speck, urban designer who did our master plan, wanted to be here, could not be here, but did a 5-minute video to put in his thoughts and his excitement about what Hammond is doing so far for the master plan. So we'll get going on that video.
Greetings, Hammond and Hammond fans, a group of people that I understand is growing by the day. This is Jeff Speck, the master planner, along with Stantec Urban Places of the downtown plan for Hammond. I've been asked to give a little update today, which I'm excited to do. I do hope that those of you who haven't seen it will go to the site gohammond.com/downtown, which I've visited several times, and there you can find our master plan. You can find our presentations surrounding the master plan and a lot of other great stuff surrounding that effort, which includes actually, I hope soon, a snippet of a documentary that's being done about the walkable city, which is focusing on the example of Hammond as how to get something like this done. I have to say, slowed slightly by COVID perhaps, but still full speed ahead. The implementation of this master plan has gone as quickly and as powerfully as just about any that I've worked on in my career. So I'm very excited to see it take shape. You know, the plans towards the new train stop are on schedule. At some point mid-decade, you will have a new train stop in downtown Hammond. In conjunction with that, a lot of different aspects of the plan have been moving forward, and I've been grateful that I've been given the opportunity to participate in reviewing proposals and giving advice on them. These include, and I have notes here on the side that I'm looking at, like this. These include street redesigns, street restriping, following the plan and modified as necessary based on conditions in the field. For Sibley Street that I've looked at, Russell Street, Hohman Avenue, north of downtown, and then of course the big event, which is the restriping and really the reconstruction and remaking as a public space as well as a street of Hohman Avenue running through the downtown, which is being completed by Structure Point and is looking as it's going to turn out very well. In conjunction with that are some new public spaces, the principal one being what at least I'm calling Sibley Plaza, which is the new corner, Rimbach Plaza, which is the new corner of Rimbach Street and Hohman Avenue, where we are straightening out the automotive-oriented swoop that currently exists in Rimbach and moving the large art fountain to a new plaza that will exist at that square corner. That is moving forward in conjunction with the reconstruction of Hohman Avenue. And then also, we expanded the study area of the plan kind of unilaterally, looked towards the Jacob Square neighborhood and said, hey, there are opportunities for infill housing here, and there's also opportunity for a new playground at the very center of this neighborhood, which is growing. And as I understand it, plans are being laid, and efforts already begun to do infill housing in that neighborhood, and the plans are well underway for the city, completed by the city, to place a new playground right in the heart of that neighborhood, which is super exciting to us. I also wanted to mention a couple large private efforts underway. One being a new housing complex at apartment house, really a big one, at 415 Sibley, which is moving forward with I think around 60 units in it. And of course, the big kahuna, the housing development plan for the corner of Rimbach and Hohman on that new plaza, probably around 200 units. That one is moving forward as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff in the pipeline. I think I've mentioned everything that was on my list, but it's just great to see. I'm really hopeful that you'll go to the website, gohammond.com/downtown, check out our plans, and stay involved in this effort. And of course, the Bank Calumet building as well, that historic structure right in the heart of the downtown, is also moving forward with a historic rehabilitation and reuse. So a lot of great things happening, and stay involved and stay connected because there's a lot to see. Thank you. Greetings, Hammond and Hammond.
No, we don't need to see it again. Thank you. It's been great working with Jeff Speck and his team, and the fact that we have still retained him on a consulting basis means we can bring him into the meetings that we're now having with Structure Point and Hohman Avenue, and with the residential developers, and looking at the buildings they're creating in our downtown. So Jeff is helping us hone down everyone's vision to one solid, strong urban core. So that's great. Next, I'd like to bring up Gina Sessions. Gina's from American Structure Point. She's going to walk through the presentation with you. She's a project manager there. And come on up, Gina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann and Mayor. It's a joy and delight for us to be here today with you all. Thank you for coming. As Ann mentioned, I am Gina Sessions with American Structure Point. I've had the honor to be the project manager for the Hohman Avenue reconstruction and Rimbach Street realignment project, working very closely with the City of Hammond and Mr. Jeff Speck. So thank you all for joining. Oh, technical difficulties. It's like Zoom, just give me a break, I'll finally get it. So, as Mayor and Ann mentioned, there's a vision, and the vision is to transform downtown Hammond. As maybe some of you came in today driving on Hohman Avenue, what do you notice? The hustle and bustle, high speeds. No one's really stopping, they're just using the area to get to a place. So the vision is to really the vision that was worked out with the mayor of the city and Jeff Specht, how do we transform this area from being a place where people drive through or cut through to a destination for people to stop at? So one way of doing that is to slow things down. So a quick project overview, which I had such a big lead up to this moment. Ta-da, here we go. So, project overview is we're reconstructing Hohman Avenue from Sibley to just a little south of Russell Street. To reduce the motorist speeds, we're going to be implementing tabletop intersections. So to think about it, you're approaching an intersection and the roadway elevation bumps up 5 inches. So the intersection itself will be flush with the curb ramps, and then it'll stay elevated through the intersection. As you move through the intersection, it then bumps back down. So this is one of the many design features which we'll talk about later. We'll get into more details of how do we slow people down. The tabletop intersection, which will also be great for pedestrians as well. There's no curb ramp down, now everything's elevated up. So very pedestrian friendly. One of the main features was to transform the corridor to make it feel like a plaza. So our goal is to move away from focusing on the motorist and more on the environment, more on the pedestrians. And then a little bit more about design elements. The signal at Sibley will remain, but no other signal will be on the corridor. So there will not be a signal at Rimbach or Fayette or Russell Street, which we'll get into a little bit later. The realignment of Rimbach Street will implement all of the same design features: tabletop intersection, narrow travel lanes, very pedestrian-friendly oriented. We want to discourage fast driving. And one way to do this, which was discussed in Jeff Speck's master plan, is to eliminate the swoop that is there now. So by eliminating the swoop, which aligns Fayette with Rimbach, we're now forcing motorists to come to a stop at Hohman. So again, our goal is to bring people in, to stop them here, and to stay here. So by realigning Rimbach, we do that not only with Rimbach, but also with Fayette Street. And as the mayor mentioned, this is not an area where you're going to be using as a shortcut. We won't be driving fast. If that's your goal, Google Maps is not going to bring you to this area. You'll want to be coming here. You want to be coming here for dinner, for a nice evening out, to enjoy your company with a nice glass of wine or drink, sitting outside, and enjoy Rimbach and Hohman, not drive through it. Along with Rimbach and Hohman, Russell Street will become two-way, so no longer will be one-way, and that was a traffic study was done with Mr. Jeff Speck's master plan, which determined that would bring about the best traffic patterns through the area. And even better news is there is a future phase 2 for this project. So future phase 2, the city of Hammond will be working with INDOT to extend the corridor further south to Douglas Street. So where we pick up from Russell, we'll go down to Douglas Street. So all of the beautiful renderings you see around the room and within the presentation, envision that within a couple of years, down to Douglas Street. So I've read through the master plan probably too many times. The pages are falling out. And one couple sentences that really struck me was, the downtown's central spine, Hohman Avenue, becomes a plaza-like Main Street with angled parking, enhanced pedestrian and bike facilities, and a dense tree canopy, which paints this beautiful picture of Hohman Avenue. So this is where we need to gear towards. We need to leave behind old Hohman and what we're familiar with, and start to envision this beautiful tree canopy, this plaza-like destination, and just a great place to stay, to stop, to shop, to eat, to do all those things. To get into a little more details, more specific to Hohman, as you see in this exhibit on the right, and then the typical section, which is essentially if you were to take a cross section through the town or through Hohman Street, this is what you'd see at the bottom. We'll have one travel lane in each direction. So instead of the 4 and then the parking, it'll be reduced down to 1, which by reducing the amount of travelway space for motorists, that already slows people down, because slows down people and eliminates the confusion of shifting lanes and where are people coming from and all of those kind of things. So the one travel lane in each direction will have a shared bike lane, so you'll be sharing the roadway with motorists and bikes. There will be center angled parking down the middle, which you can see in this exhibit, and don't squint because the next 5 slides will be many exhibits. Parallel parking on both sides of the street, and then within that parallel parking, we're going to be installing paved drain, which takes the stormwater, and it allows it to naturally infiltrate into the surrounding soils versus overloading the city's combined storm sanitary. We will place inlets at low points just as a backup so that they will prevent any flooding possible with drainage. And then on both sides of the street, we'll have either an 8-foot sidewalk or an 11-foot sidewalk. The curb lines of the roadway do not change, so the sidewalk space that we see today is going to be the sidewalk space that we see in the future. And then decorative lighting, which we're all very excited about, having uniform decorative lighting with banner arms to showcase city events or city personnel or high school graduates, to really just showcase the city of Hammond. And along with that, which has been everyone's like wow factor, is the large, fast-growing, dense canopy of trees. So we'll have trees along both curb lines and then down the center parking. So we'll be driving through, beautiful, green, luscious trees. And then we'll get into some exhibits that kind of blows everything up so you can see it a little more detailed. This is top down on Hohman looking south from Sibley Street. So here you can see the trees on both curb lines, the trees down the center where we have the center angle parking, and the project will be adding 40 additional parking spaces down the center. You see the lighting on both sides, the purple banner arms. And this is a great exhibit because it also showcases the fact that we're moving towards not just pedestrians, but motorists and pedestrians. So in the future, the city could close the street down and have a festival downtown Hohman, or downtown Hammond along Hohman. Maybe Beatles Fest will be there, or farmers market, or some sort of, we can get creative and come up with many different things, but it gives that great opportunity. This exhibit is showing at Sibley, looking south, and this is a great exhibit to kind of see the raised tabletop intersections. So all of this area will be flush. We'll have bollards to protect pedestrians. There'll be a bike lane, dedicated bike lane, green striped along Sibley. You can see here a little closer, we have some landscaping at the end caps of the center parking, which can be used as a gateway to downtown Hammond. You hit Sibley Street and you see this beautiful landscaping and you know immediately that we're slowing down, there's pedestrians, everything's coming together. Here we are along Hohman at Sibley, again looking south, just another angle where we can see our trees both along the, wrong button. Our trees along the curb line, our trees down the center. We have landscaping down the center. The parallel parking will be the area of the perv drain or pervious pavers. And then also we'll have benches, we'll have our planter boxes, bike racks, those kind of things. Here we are on Hohman at Rimbach looking south. So just another perspective where we have the opportunity to add in additional landscaping, another perspective to see the trees. So this image is showing a more, a newer tree. So it would, the project would look right after construction. But if you can imagine 10 years from now with the trees being fully matured, a large canopy, and the goal is to extend the canopy so that they touch over the roadway. Here you see one travel lane in each direction, and just the feel of it feels like everything is slowing down. Here's a better view to see the decorative lights. So decorative lights, we have our planter boxes, our shared bike lane with the roadway, all just different perspectives of the project. Oops. Okay, and then to get into the Rimbach realignment. We'll be applying all those same design features that we discussed for Hohman Avenue along Rimbach. So one travel lane in each direction. Travel lanes will be narrowed. Parallel parking on both sides of the street. We'll have 9 and 10-foot sidewalks, decorative lighting, the same fast-growing trees, and then we have our sculpture relocation, which we really haven't touched on yet. So while we realign or we remove the swoop in Rimbach, we'll also be relocating the art sculpture that's currently out on site. So we'll be taking that structure, we'll be relocating it nearby, and then it'll eventually be placed back on site once the area is developed. So we'll have this Rimbach Square, Rimbach Plaza, which hasn't been designed yet, but here's just an idea of what it could look like. Another place where people can come and gather and have lunch, have benches, possibly. We've thought about including maybe little bubblers so that kids could play in like the little bubblers, a smaller water feature. So that's all to be determined. And then what's everyone curious about? When? We want it now. So construction is going to be starting next year. It'll begin early spring of 2022. It'll be one construction season long. And then we know the importance of Hohman, and we still need to use it. We still need to get to the businesses. We still need to access the area. So one lane of travel will be maintained in each direction at all times. We will maintain access to all businesses. We'll maintain access, we'll provide pedestrian connectivity and ADA access at all time as well. So you'll see, here's some signs at the bottom that you might be seeing if you're in the area. So we'll have our detour signs up to direct pedestrians to the nearest ADA detour route. We'll have our advanced warning signs to alert the motorists that, hey, we're coming up to a construction zone. Then the next phase will be in the future, to be determined. And with that, that is it. You're welcome.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, American Structure Point, for putting together such wonderful renderings. It's really giving us a lot of food for thought. At this point, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. Anyone that has a question for myself, Mayor Tom, American Structure Point, we'll do our best to answer. So did anyone have a question at this time? Okay, I'll be right out with a microphone.
I don't need a mic. It's for the TV. It's for the TV.
For the TV, because we're streaming live. Thank you.
As far as, is it my understanding you're going to relocate the sculpture but then put it back basically in the same area after the plaza is developed?
Correct.
Okay. I might suggest that you contact the sculptor of that project from back, David Black. He's a nationally, internationally known sculptor. You might contact him. It might be worth contacting him to talk about any structural concerns he might have on the relocation.
That is great advice. We definitely will.
Okay, one other thought, and I don't know, I didn't hear anything about my former work site right next door. That's the empty lot that was burned up, the old Straube building, Straube. I don't know if the notion of a pocket park is too quaint these days, but certainly if you're going to have apartments nearby, it might be a nice place. And to continue a theme of art, because you could work with people like the Hammond Historical Society and others, because we're interested in repainting that ad on that wall And if you make that a pocket park, maybe you could have a very small sculpture of the famous coin flip that decided the city's name just took place 2 blocks to the north. That sculpture cost us $250,000, 20 years ago. So if the city or through a grant could get, 100 or so thousand for a smaller sculpture, that might be an idea there too.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, that's
Good.
a that's a very good idea. And we've heard that same reoccurring idea, which I believe the city is entertained. We all think that a pocket park would be great. So thank you for that.
You see that downtown all the time, parks right next to buildings where you can walk your dogs, or it's a good idea. Appreciate it. That's why we do these sessions, so.
And in Jeff Speck's master plan, he's also identified the alley just north of us between the Toll Theater and Paul Henry Arc Alley as a place for art.
Right.
So art alley. So we're going to work on that as well.
One of the things that threw me for a loop was the backing up into traffic, and that was something that Jeff Speck was really digging in on. He was the parking in the middle, where if you're parking and you're going through Hohman in the single lane, to park in the center, the 40 new spaces, which is badly needed, you literally pull into it front ways, and then when you want to get out of it, you literally are backing up into slow traffic. I mean, it's hard to imagine when you watch the cars go by at 50 miles an hour backing up into it, but this is not going to be a place you go fast. So I think that's the idea behind the spaces in the middle of the street with the tree canopy and all that. So I know it's different. I don't know anywhere else in the region that has something like that, but we will here. So questions?
So you did decide, the plan did decide to go to back into those spots?
Yes, sir. No.
that's-
Pull front ways in, back out of the spots, into backing out onto Hohman.
That's too bad. I really was excited when I saw the spec plan backing in, and the reason is just logistically. Think about other places that we have.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, you're
Right,
correct.
you pull in front ways and then you back out into
Yeah,
traffic, right?
and I'm just afraid that people that don't drive very well, for example, think about other places that have full pull-in diagonal parking in the region, like Highway Avenue down in Highland. It's very, very difficult to get out.
True.
People won't let you out because they want to get through, they want to get by. But
Right.
if you're pulling in, so imagine traffic going one direction, and you want to back into a spot. You have to stop. So the guy behind you has got to stop, and then you pull back into the spot, and then the guy behind you keeps going. It's a lot easier to get out of that diagonal. So I'm sorry to hear that they changed the idea. I think that it's radical to back in, and we're doing radical things here, right?
Wasn't that how spec came out originally?
That's how
Yes,
we wanted
so-
originally. I really like
Originally,
that.
right.
Originally, it was back in,
Right.
but due to the actual space that we have, with the narrowed lanes and then the parallel parking on both sides, the backing in maneuver isn't as easy to do. If we had a little more space, so then we would have to take a little more space from the sidewalks, which isn't something that we wanted to give up, then we could have made that backing in maneuver. And I think it can be argued either way. I think I'm a good driver, but not everyone is that familiar with backing in versus pulling in. So we looked at both.
It was quite the debate, Ray. It definitely was. And I'm a backer. I back up everywhere, but not everybody's like that. I back into my driveway, but I think there was a lot of thought about stopping traffic and then trying to back in. And there was quite a debate about that, being honest with you.
Once again, the idea we're doing radical things here.
Yeah.
Why not just take the whole bite of the apple and go radical and make people change their behavior? We're making people change their behavior.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of questions. When you talked about the raised intersections, how is that going to affect snow plowing? I mean, I know it's functional, it's a long ways away, but snow plows are going to crash into this curb?
So think of it as don't want to say the word speed bump, but a glorified elongated speed bump. So the snowplow can go up and over it. It's a gradual grade, so it's going to be over 12 feet versus as dramatic as a speed bump. It's not going to be a hard hit. So a plow will be able to go up and over. We've implemented this near the Indy Motor Speedway, and there hasn't been a problem there. And then we had a couple of other places in Indianapolis where we've also done it, and there has been no issue with snowplows.
My other question, interest, was the areas where you talked about the permeable area. Are those blocks that are set in?
Yes, so they're connected pavers, and there's gaps between the pavers. Underneath the pavers, there's about 36 inches of compacted, well, not compacted, but aggregate. So water hits the paver and then naturally permeates down and sits into the aggregate, and then naturally absorbs into the
I'm just
soil
concerned
underneath.
because the pavers that we have here are all torn up after just a couple of years, but maybe that's because too fast traffic.
And so the pavers will only be utilized in the parking lanes. So we won't have any pavers across the street, and these pavers are also interlocked, so less chance for one to be popping up.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Anybody else? Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Novak. So you mentioned a phase two. I noticed it. So right now the current southern terminus is Russell Street. Okay, yeah. So is the idea we would continue the tree canopy and stuff like that down to Douglas or something?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. Because I know we're kind of working up from the north too, at the city limits.
Well, when you think about the single lane right now is south of 165th all the way to the Munster line.
Yeah.
And then you go 4 lanes all the way up through the Hohman Avenue Bridge. And then you start restricting again. This is going to restrict traffic, beginning at Russell, but eventually we're going to get it down to Douglas. And obviously we're going to have to change between Douglas and 165th eventually as well. Dean,
It's right. We have the plan.
could you get a microphone?
It's coming, Dean, it's coming.
So that the studio audience, so the
Yeah, I'm
TV
sorry,
audience
Mayor.
can hear you.
I
as
should
well.
know better. I apologize.
That's all right.
So we do have a plan.
Dean's a city engineer, by the way, for those of you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. So we have a plan in place that I just received last week for striping between 165th and Douglas to provide just one lane in each direction, similar to what we did south of 165th, and then so that'll carry all the way.
So
through.
is that going to begin next year while we're doing this project as well? Or?
Yeah, there's not enough time in this season
Gotcha.
to be able to get that, because it's a special material that we have to put down, but it'll be done early
Great.
next year.
Thank you. Questions in the back?
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Mayor. Really quick, so in 2022, we're looking at just restriping of the downtown Hohman Avenue area, correct?
No, 2022 will be full reconstruction.
Oh, the whole centers and everything?
Correct.
Oh,
It'll be
never-
constructed in half, so we'll do the east side first and then the west side.
Fantastic, thanks.
Money's budgeted. It has to go through the council, but I imagine the council wouldn't be opposed to this project. So once the council approves it, we'll be letting it and moving. So, hi, Rich.
Hello, Mayor. You mentioned about the restriping of Hohman south of 65th. Has any studies been done on that since it's been done to check on the traffic flow and the speeds that are
No,
still?
nothing. I know
'Cause
anecdotally.
I travel it often, and it's
Yeah.
still, even though it's one lane, there is still a lot of high-speed traffic in that area. So
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think the speed limit's still
Dean, have you
35.
done any?
We have not done any studies on the impact of that. It's just the casual observation that we have done to see that we believe we've seen an impact, but there's inevitably these motorists who want to disobey the traffic laws, and then they speed through.
And I've got one other question. I know there's a lot of underutilized or or vacant buildings already in downtown. What's the plans for those?
Well, we were hoping that this is the type of thing that could cultivate a better environment for economic development. We're thinking that this is the kind of thing that, people like Raimundo and Raimundo's line of work say, hey, wider sidewalks, a lot of people moving downtown, slower traffic, maybe I'll open up the next true, barbecue in downtown Hammond. By the way, they're looking, okay? That's why I mentioned them. So they are, and they would be great if they're watching right now. You'd be excellent downtown. But, 18th Street, Raimundo with Eat, and other restaurant, operators, So we're hoping that this is the type of thing that could cultivate a better atmosphere
And
downtown.
I must say at our office, since we received the master plan, we have been getting a lot of inquiries about buildings available in downtown Hammond. So it's already started.
Thank you.
I just want to say real quickly, I live south of 165th, right off Hohman. And I tell you, when that project came in, I was a little skeptical But living there and watching the traffic and driving that street a lot to doctor's offices, now that St. Margaret's is leaving, it is a great thing. The bike line to me is still a little mystical because we got a bike trail 2 blocks over.
Agree with you. Agree, Kurt.
But the one-lane traffic is great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You live on Lyman also, right, Kurt?
Yeah, I live between.
Have you noticed an increase?
Lyman.
Have you noticed an increase in traffic on Lyman because of that, do you believe?
No, but now there's a lot of construction and surveying stuff going on, but not
really?
Not on that street. I don't notice when I drive. I usually drive home, but I do drive Lyman when I come back, and it's still pretty nice.
Thank you. Questions? A lot of hard work went into this, and we learned a lot, and we're trying to use that. And I see some interested people from Hessville that are wondering, is this going to be replicated? The short answer is yes. We're going to do it, take what we learned here and apply it to downtown Hessville in the same type of manner. I mean, very similar types of problems in downtown Hessville. Thank you. I mean, downtown Hammond, downtown Hessville have very similar types of issues. And we've hired this world-renowned planning expert to help us and to teach us and to coach us on how to do it better downtown Hammond. And we're stealing his knowledge and taking it to Hessville. And, you know, in our ARP budget that's going before the Hammond City Council, money is built into it for the Kennedy Avenue landscape as well. So you will, the council's probably wondering when they're going to see that budget. We're in the final process of putting it before them right now. And so it's exciting. Phil, first off, I want to thank the council people in attendance. I see quite a few of them right now. Councilwoman at Large, Janet Venez, I saw her walk in here. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Councilman at Large, Dan Spitelli. Nice to see you, Councilman. Councilman Pete Torres, 2nd District. That's our host, Councilman. Nice to see you, Councilman. Going through my head. And Scott Rakos, Councilman of Hessville, 6th District. So I want to thank my economic development team for working very hard on this, my city engineer. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman at Large, Katrina Alexander. Nice to see you, Councilwoman. I apologize. My city planner, Brian Poland, he's not an elected official, but did a lot of hard work on this, along with Dean Button. Could you give him a big round of applause? American Structure Point does a lot of great work. I really appreciate Gina and the team for working so hard on this. Thank you very much, guys. And I want to thank you. Tons of community feedback helped make this a reality. I mean, we hundreds and hundreds of changes to the original plan, a lot of back and forth with the community, with the spec team, and I'm really happy. I'm excited about moving this project forward. So I keep looking out there and I see cars going by at 50 miles an hour, and I think 2 years from now, we'll have a meeting in the hub and we'll see traffic going a lot slower, and hopefully we'll see people walking by and people crossing the street. That's the vision. So thank you guys very much for coming out to the presentation today. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, we'll have our development team ability to answer any questions you have. Thank you.